Hi and welcome back to the Ruby Tuesday. My name is Ruben, and this is my review for Cherry. There are certain films that when you watch them for the first time, you feel like you're really privileged to watch something, that you know you're watching something special. And then there are also certain films that you never want to watch again. For me, this is that film. Do give me a thumbs up in this video, it helps massively in the analytics, and comment down below. Let's build our community and keep talking about like our favorite Russo films, favorite Tom Holland film. All of that is the best place. This is non-spoiler, so don't worry, I'm going to talk about the film and why you should watch it or why you shouldn't watch it, but for now, let's jump into the review. An army medic suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder becomes a serial bank robber after an addiction to drugs puts him in debt. So Tom Holland is our main protagonist, and we follow his storyline. The first few minutes you may feel a little bit jarred, or even the first 20 minutes actually, but a bit jarred of how this film is presented to you, because it's presented in parts, and it also takes you a while because he's narrating, and so you often are, he's narrating, looking at the camera, often in a situation, and so they'll be doing something and then you kind of just break the fourth wall, and that can get a little bit getting used to. It's not your usual type, and I feel like that's one of the first points I should point out when going into watching this film. It is different. It's a hell of a creative endeavor as well. The Russos seem to have picked a project that is full of talent. So not just them, but we're talking about the cinematographer as well. Newton Thomas Sigel, who's done Three Kings, Drive, amongst others. So his work is phenomenal. Then we have the score, who is composed by Henry Jackman, who's done The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Civil War, games, amongst others. And so we have a team here when it comes to the talent behind the camera is really, really strong. So obviously the crew know what they're doing. We have the cinematographer that has done some of the best films. Like if you had a top 100 film, he would be there in amongst them. A few of those titles would be in there. Then we have two directors who sometimes people say, well, can they only do superhero films? But if you go and look at their IMDb list, you'll see a few titles that stick out to you like, oh, I didn't know they did that. And I feel like there is this conversation as well with Tom Holland. It feels like people have said for a while, me sometimes included when it comes to Spider-Man, can Tom Holland be a great actor? Or is he just an actor that is okay at being Spider-Man? Is he a great actor? And I've seen him in other things, Onward, Impossible, which was a really wild, I think 2014, which was excellent, but we didn't see him really do much now. He was very young. Onward is again a superhero-esque and doing voice work, obviously the superhero stuff, in the Avengers and Endgame, all of those, you kind of go, yeah, you can act, but are you really great? And we've seen him recently do The Devil All the Time, which I thought he was great in. But there's definitely this conversation that's been going on for a while, whether Tom Holland is a great actor. And I've heard some people really kind of saying that he isn't, he's just a pretty boy, there's just a Marvel light. I would say after watching this film, it'd be very hard for people to not say that he's actually really great. I know some actors choose their roles very well, they have good agents, and so I was saying that tactfully. I'm not purposely not saying anybody's names because I don't want to upset anybody, because entertainment medium is very different. We like who we like. But when it comes to this film, I thought Tom Holland really engaged with this character. It felt like through and through. You forget that he's Tom Holland. His mannerisms are different. You don't really recognize him as Tom Holland. You recognize him as the character that the Russos are trying to give us, trying to show us. It's a really, really meaty portrayal of someone that kind of is broken down over his lifetime, from what he goes through in the army to the relationship he has. It's a strong love story that is carried throughout. It really is a genre. It has many genres, but the love genre is, can love conquer all? And then in amongst that, it talks about, drugs and the army, which I guess this doesn't paint it in a good light at all, or rather war in the army. And then obviously drugs, hardcore drugs. If you are easily offended by seeing people shoot up, then I think you're going to find this film difficult. And that's why I started off my review with, wow, this is a film that I'm so privileged to watch, because the talent behind it is incredible. It looks riveting. It's stunning to watch. Every moment is creative. There's shift in patterns, there's shift in tone. It's broken up so you know kind of what's happening in the story. Even the narration really is a character. The score is fantastically different to what you'd expect it to be for this type of film. I won't spoil it for you. You can just go in it and watch it. At the same time, it's very depressing. There's a lot in this that's really dark. At the same time, it's also really tense. It's an amalgamation of these really kind of dark genres that makes you feel very different emotions. So a lot of the time, you're willing the characters not to do that thing which you know is going to lead them down to some very dark, nasty corner of the world or in their life. And so you're holding your breath for them not to do that thing. And other times there's some really, really tense moments, not just with the war, but other times when you see them going through certain circumstances, well, I didn't realize. I was like sitting back in my chair and kind of holding my breath. I was still breathing, but breathing silently. And that gives you an idea of the emotional intensity that this type of film will portray. It's one of those films that you watch and you talk about with your friends, like The Usual Suspects, or, there's moments in this film that will stand out and will make you think for a very long time. And then you'll be like, someone will say to you, "Do you want to watch it? Do you want to watch Cherry?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, I don't know if I can go through that again." In a year's time, I might revisit it with my family members, certain amounts of my family members, old members of my family members that I know that can handle this type of film. It is not happy, and I would say maybe let it stew, let it do what it needs to do, and then watch something happy, because it does take you on a harrowing journey. That's not to say it isn't epic, because it is totally epic. Every aspect of this film is incredible, from the way that the aspect ratio shifts to depict what's going on, to when the title is revealed, to when certain characters have some pivotal moments moving on a character, but how it's moving, how it's developed, you don't see it's coming, because the way they develop is often different, breaking that fourth wall, using score as a character, using color as a character. And so when they start shifting the narrative, or when they start shifting the genre narrative, you're expecting it to go one way, and it does go that way, but then they kind of shift that zone, and you're like, okay, so that's where they're going with this. I would say do stick it out. If you're watching the beginning of the film and you're like, I'm not sure if I like this, give it half an hour before you can really decide what this film is going to like, because it's the journey that it's like a very dark, horrible life adventure. It's a snapshot of taking moments in somebody's life and seeing what happens in it in a very, very dark way. Somebody's life goes through a harrowing journey, and you get to see that, and they kind of do like no holes barred. They really are kind of showing you a full frontal of the starkness of how life can be sometimes, and it's hard to watch that way. If you have a heart, you're going to feel for them. You're going to feel these moments. I would say everything is fantastic, but again, it's not a film that I would watch again very soon. I think it's an easy A+ for me, because the talent in it is just obvious. It's like, yeah, this is Oscar material for me. Even I don't even want to mention the Oscars with it. I just want to say this is a very grand, interesting idea. I think it's executed very well. It is also very long. It's over 2 hours, so you're sitting there going through this real hardship for a long time. And I was nearing the end of this film. I was going, okay, well, what is this film for? What is it glorifying? Because the majority of this film is people getting hurt, people getting blown up, people taking drugs consistently, just seeing lives spiral out of control, and you're like, But there is a fruition to the end. But it's one of those films that you have to sit through all the horrible stuff to get to that end. And even when you get to that end, you're like, was that all worth it? But that's more like a reality, a real slice of life, rather than a Hollywood slice of life. So if you can handle it, then I would say definitely watch it. If you're easily emotionally affected right now, then maybe give it time until you're in a place where you can handle it and have The Simpsons ready, or Futurama ready, or something like that that makes you happy. Dodgeball, I don't know, whatever flicks your comedy switch, maybe to have that boost afterwards. That's just where I'm at. I've been stuck at home, COVID being what it is, we can't go out anyway. So watching really, really dark films, often need a little comedy treat afterwards. That would be my top tip when watching this film. But do watch it. It's excellent. I believe it's an Apple exclusive or original at the moment, so it's coming out soon. When this review is released, I think it's like a few days after it comes out. So I hope you do enjoy it. Let me know if you want a deeper dive into this film. It's definitely one that, as film students or anybody that loves film and loves to dissect film, this is one you could study. Very impressive work. I don't think there's any doubt that these guys can't act brilliantly. The whole cast, Sierra as well, the other protagonist, Tom Holland's character, his partner in this film, she was fantastic. There are a number of other actors. I think Mark Wahlberg's nephew was Mark Wahlberg's nephew's in this as well. He was fantastic. All the cast are very good. Whether the characters themselves you would never want to meet in a dark alley, maybe, the acting was incredible. I thought the directors did brilliant jobs getting what they needed to from their actors. It's obviously based on a book, so they had really a great story to transfer, but I can imagine the task at transferring this into screen, because of how the story is told, was quite a tricky one, and I thought they've done a fantastic job. The way they've broken it up, those screen aspect ratios, using the color as your different storytelling device as well as your score, the talent behind camera and in front is a perfect match and seems to have really worked here. If I had a little niggle, I would say it was a little bit too long, especially for what you go through as an audience member. Over 2 hours, and you're still going, oh, how is this going to end? And so eventually you maybe draw too much, or you expect too much from your audience. It's just dark, slightly a little bit of happiness. Don't know. You'll have to see it when you reach the end. Let me know what you think. It's still definitely an A+ from me. Sorry about the audio that switched on and off. I've had audio issues from my audio device, so the first half will probably be a bit tinny. The second half will hopefully be better. Give me a thumbs up. Chat to me in the comments below about this film. Thanks so much. But until next time, remember, live long and Tuesday.